Hi, everybody. I wanted to talk today a little bit about a method that I use when I'm coaching. And it's a method that I absolutely love. So I wanted to explain it a little bit, talk about it, explain why I love it so much. Now, so as an executive coach and consultant and a leadership coach, as someone who does training on leadership quite often, I've enjoyed working with leaders at every level of the organization, from CEOs to newly promoted managers. And many of the leaders that I've worked with have wanted to change something about their behavior or their communication, but they've had difficulty accomplishing that. So what we often utilize is a method known as the immunity to change. And we believe, and I believe, it's the most effective process to address someone's internal barriers to self-improvement. The process is absolutely fantastic because it makes relatively quick work of making a difference in the lives of our clients. And this immunity to change process was developed out of solid research by two leading scientists from Harvard. By name, they were Robert Kegan and Lisa Lahey. So let's face it, real change is hard. If you were recently promoted to a leadership position, you might realize that you need to learn how to delegate more effectively. Perhaps you're the CEO and you know that your command and control, your large and in charge communication style is alienating some people. Maybe you're an executive who's been getting feedback on your reviews over the past several years that you need to speak up more in meetings with your peers. And these are a handful of situations that we worked with, but there's many others. If you're like most leaders who we work with, you've made sincere commitments to change in certain areas. You've participated in training programs, invested in books, or outlined self-improvement plans, set accountability measures, done online classes maybe, participated in seminars. You've probably done everything you can think of to do to improve upon these areas, and yet maybe you still find that there's certain areas of change that you would like to make, but are still rather elusive for you. And let's be honest, maybe you can get things to shift for a little while, but eventually you return to your old habitual ways of relating, working, thinking. And that's natural because when we can work to modify our behavior, and we can modify our behavior when conditions are ideal, but when stressful situations come, and if you're a leader, you know stressful situations will always come, we tend to resort back to our comfort zones, our comfortable way of doing things, the things that we naturally settle into. So you might ask, if I try to change it, I can't change it. What's going on here? Is it a lack of willpower on my part? Are we dealing with a fundamental flaw in ourselves that can't be changed? They're good questions. You know, Kegan and Lahey set out to unravel this mystery. They point to a study in their research that found that when doctors tell their heart patients that they're going to die if they don't change their habits, only 1 in 7 are able to make the change successfully. So change is elusive for people, even when faced with life and death matters. Kegan and Lahey concluded that desire and motivation alone wouldn't be enough to change the status quo for most people. They became curious about what lies behind our habitual behaviors and mindsets. Instead of writing off any bad habits as bad, you can look to see what useful purpose that habit that we want to change but can't might be serving. If you know that you're facing burnout and you want to be a better delegator, but continue the habit of taking control and doing things yourself, you must have a pretty good reason. If you want to lose weight, but you find that maybe you can lose weight for a little while, but then when you go off your diet, you go back to the old habits of eating that put the weight on in the first place. And there must be a good reason that you do that. Maybe you're afraid that things will devolve into chaos if you don't do things the way you've always done them. Maybe you grew up in a world where you learned that delegating work to others just makes you lazy. Maybe your identity is so wrapped up in being seen as the hero, the creative genius who produces excellent work. See, what Kegan and Lahey discovered was that behind each one of our habits is a firmly held belief that not only keeps us in our groove, but also fights any change that threatens our status quo, that threatens our attempts to change. The resistance is so strong and so adaptive that it's likened to a finely tuned immune system. So it works like this. If I fundamentally believe that my value lies in being an expert, I will be very invested in asserting my views and being right. I'm going to defend my expert status at all costs. Listening and accepting influence will undermine what I consider to be my core value. I will believe that no amount of investment and skill development will make me a better listener. Even a strong desire and motivation to be a better leader cannot compete with the deep-seated belief that my value lies in being an expert. So we're dealing with an immunity to change that first needs to be unearthed for real and lasting improvement to be possible. Kegan and Lahey developed an immunity to change methodology that we use here with clients on a one-on-one coaching sessions and group workshops as part of the team leadership development programs. The objective is to pinpoint and address whatever beliefs and assumptions block clients from the changes they want to make. And individuals have these immunities to change, but so do groups. Creating an immunity to change map, which is one of our tools, is a simple way to bring to light the personal barriers to change. And it starts by outlining the client's commitment to an improvement goal. Then it sketches out the things that he or she is either doing or not doing that prevents progress towards the achievement goal. The map then identifies competing commitments, which some people have called limiting beliefs, as well as the big underlying assumptions behind those competing commitments. In the map, what we find is that the client is operating with one foot on the gas pedal, which is the goal, and one foot on the brake, which is their resistance to change. So you're driving down the road, one foot on the gas, one foot on the brake, both floored, and you're not getting anywhere. You are competing commitments, and your big assumptions that keep your foot on the brake are typically and usually unconscious. If you don't map them out, you can't address them to move forward. The immunity to change map, it's robust. It's completing one map typically provides the insights and often dismantles the assumptions that are holding you back. And after the map, there are as many as 9 different steps that we take to overturn the assumptions. Typically, this is a 6-month process, a 6-month coaching engagement. And a coach may not use all 9 steps, but the system is customized to the approach that best fits the client's needs and goal. But when is this process most useful? The immunity to change process is most useful for the thornier, the more difficult self-improvement goals, because some goals can be met with training or usual development practices or seminars. But these types of goals we're talking about here usually can't. They are the thornier ones. Maybe your role requirements or business context have changed, and what got you here can't get you there. So you may have been successful in your life and got to a certain level, but now you have to get to another place and another level. Maybe it's a new job, but what got you to your success in the first place can't get you to added success or even continued success. Maybe the same issues keep showing up in your performance reviews and you've not been able to crack the problem. Some common leadership improvement goals that the immunity to change process address include delegation, communication, which would be speaking clearly and succinctly, engaging in conflict constructively, speaking up with peers or executives, listening, prioritizing, creating focus, building trust in relationships, developing others, work-life balance, collaboration, and the list can go on. The place to start is defining a good improvement goal, and it should be focused as well as important. What is one thing that you could change that would have a significant impact on your performance? Another way of looking at is saying, what is the one thing that you can change that would make you a better employee or spouse or partner or friend? It must also be motivating. The truth is, the immunity to change process will take you out of your safety zone, out of your comfort zone a bit. So you need to believe that the results will be worthwhile. You really need to have a visceral gut feeling that you have to make this change. While the immunity to change method is effective and fast, it isn't easy to do the work independently because we can't see our own blind spots. And much of what drives anyone's immunity to change is unconscious and hidden beliefs. So that's a short explanation of why we love this process, this immunity to change methodology. If you want to know more, if you would like to start working on your own immunity to change, you can contact us today so that we can get started. Thanks, and I hope you all have a fantastic day.